It's finally here. We got wild card weekend. We got NFL playoffs, Tyson. Unfortunately, we don't have any showdowns to do for this week, so we had to find something to do with our time. I think we should just go through the slate, man, and just get an idea of what pricing is for this weekend.
Yeah, this is definitely a first look. We're recording this Tuesday night. Not even a lot of injury news out right now. Some teams haven't even released like an injury report yet. So early in the week, but it's going to be nice to start wrapping our heads around this multiple slates, this multiple game weekend before we get too deep into the week. Let's do it. What is up, guys? Welcome to the Edge DFS. My name is Tyson Smith, joined by Ellie Hernandez. Ellie, what you drinking, man?
I honestly don't know. Oh, it's called a Canteen Black Cherry Vodka Soda. My wife, she works at a liquor store, so she gets awesome discounts and stuff. So
Nice.
I just drink what she brings home.
Nice, dude.
She can't drink, so I drink for her.
Oh, hey, you're drinking for two. I get it. I got a little, classic Jack and Coke here.
There you go.
Getting the week started off right here. So we appreciate you guys joining us. Throw us a like on your way in. We're talking playoffs, dude.
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs.
Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about playoffs here. Super wild card weekend, 6 games. We've got a Saturday 2-gamer, a Sunday 3-gamer, and then a Saturday through Monday 6-gamer. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at each game individually, talk about matchups, things like that. And then we'll get into SaberSim and start looking at some of these salaries. And we're going to use the Saturday through Monday slate as kind of the template. But based on what Ellie and I are seeing, we've double checked, all the salaries seem to be the same or very, very similar. So we can start looking at salaries in comparison to, certain players and certain slates might be more ideal as opposed to, the full slate sort of a situation. Let's just jump into this, dude. So we got some good storylines here, man. I'm pretty excited about this weekend. We've got first game here. We've got Cleveland Browns going into Houston. This is the Amari Cooper nuclear game. That was the last game that Amari Cooper played. He's been out for a few weeks. So this is going to be an interesting matchup. Feels like to me Amari Cooper seems like he's going to play with that heel injury. But for the 2-game slate, I mean, dude, he might be 90% owned. You know what I mean? I know that Tyreek Hill is on that slate as well, but this is maybe a situation that you could just maybe play less of him on this slate. We don't, odds that he comes out and has another massive type game are pretty low. Now, can he come out and get 80 yards and a touchdown, and is that enough to get on the optimal for a 2-gamer? It could be. Thoughts on this Cleveland Brown? Actually, before we dive into this, let's just go through each game and just kind of talk about these matchups. Next game. This is Saturday night. Dolphins are going into Kansas City, and dude, there's going to be some weather issues. Not necessarily snow or precipitation, but cold AF. It might hit around 0, and we're looking at between 12 to 15 mile per hour winds in this one potentially. So that's going to be huge. Now this is a 44 total. The Chiefs are favored by 3.5 points. Dolphins are super banged up on defense. KC has been struggling offensively. Let's wait a minute. We'll talk about this more in depth. The Steelers. This is on Sunday, 1 p.m. going into Buffalo. Now we got another weather type game. It could be in the teens as far as temperature goes, and we could see up to 20 mile per hour winds in this game. So 2 weather games that kind of stick out to me. This one's on Sunday. This one's for the Sunday 3-game slate. We got the Packers. McCarthy playing against his old team. This is in Dallas. It's a 7.5-point spread in favor of Dallas. It's a 50.5-point total. Indoors, no weather to deal with there. Dude, this is the game here, man. I'm really excited about this. The Rams going into Detroit. Detroit hosting its first playoff game in how long? It's been since the Barry Sanders days. And you got Stafford coming back to Detroit, and you got the Goff narrative on the other side of this. This is a 51.5-point total, 3.5-point spread in favor of Detroit. Dude, I'm really excited about that game. That is at 8 p.m. on Sunday night. And then we have a Monday night game, an island game here. This game is still involved in the Saturday, obviously Saturday through Monday slate, but this is going to be a showdown slate. We'll do a video for this one as well. But Eagles, dude, the Eagles, man, my God. Going into Tampa Bay, this feels like a very underwhelming type game. It feels like Tampa Bay could probably win this one. We're in Florida, so at any given moment it could rain, so just keep an eye on that. Ellie, you want to start back at the beginning and start with this Texans and Browns game here?
Yeah, so first kind of like random comment, like there's just a lot of narratives in this slate, like just a lot of coincidental matchups, right? It's kind of ironic that Deshaun Watson's coming back to Houston for a playoff game with the Browns, and he's not even going to be playing quarterback.
Exactly.
That's kind of fucking funny, man. You got to admit. That said, like this, I think if you're playing the full slate or you're playing a slate with this game on it in particular, like I think this is one of the games to target. I'm excited to watch this one. Quite frankly, like I went back and watched our best ball show the other show, and I got a few things wrong, like John Mechie being a superstar wide receiver, but hey, we called out Tank Dell. Like I'm kind of I think Texans are still underrated, dude, is kind of my point. Like I still think people are underrating them. I understand Cleveland's got a good thing going, they got a great defense and they're just clicking, but like I don't know, man. Houston's at home. Like you have a rookie quarterback who's about to win Offensive Rookie of the Year at home. I think this game is going to be a lot more exciting than people are kind of just giving it credit for initially.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's probably going to be my favorite game, one of my favorite games to target this weekend. On the Saturday 2 games, we'll get into that a little bit more. This game is going to be chalk as hell.
Oh yeah, it's going to have to be because the weather. I know you got the Chiefs and Miami playing, but I don't know fully what to expect, and you got a lot of injuries going on there, and both offenses, trying to figure things out right now. So like I said, this is a rematch from week 16. That was the Amari Cooper nuclear game, 265 yards in that game, and since then he's been out. So the Browns put it up on him in that game, man. And if you look at some of these defensive rankings for the Texans, tackling they're 28th, run defense 16th. But coverage, they're ninth. They're stronger. And can you imagine what their grade would be if they didn't have this random blip on the radar? I feel like you can run the ball on this team. You can still pass the ball. The Browns and Flacco can come out and have some success. We've seen it happen. You got to think that a guy like Cooper is going to be a priority to try to shut down, and I'm sure they've watched that damn tape a lot, trying to figure out what the hell happened to them. So you have to assume that they're going to make it a point to not let Cooper beat him in this one. So we'll have to kind of see how this one goes. If you look at Nico Collins, though, dude, this guy, I mean, it feels like he came out of nowhere, but that's just mainly because this Texans team, they haven't really had any primetime slates. But Nico, man, look at this stat here. Since week 9, a list of wide receivers averaged more points per game than a healthy Nico Collins at 18.1 fantasy points per game is only CeeDee Lamb. So this guy, Nico, is going to be a priority on this slate, just like he was for the last slate that he played, pretty much. Anything else to talk about here? Like the Cleveland Browns defense, obviously impressive. Their offensive numbers haven't been impressive, but we've seen a boost with Joe Flacco. The one issue that I'm concerned about is, Flacco's going to throw interceptions. Like he's going to come out slinging the ball. He's going to throw the ball 40 plus times. He's probably going to throw 2 picks. That's what we've seen from him this year. So he's been playing good, but is he this massive lock to have an incredible game? I just don't think so. Anything else to add here? What do you think about the Cleveland run game? They run the ball a lot. For whatever reason, they don't rank very good when it comes to the run blocking and run game overall, according to PFF.
Yeah, man. Look, I think the thing that we need to take away from the last game is that it's very difficult to beat a team multiple times. They got the shit kicked out of them last time, Houston being the they in this case. And Joe Flacco went off, Amari Cooper went off. We know what happened. It's very difficult to have a repeat performance like that. And we'll get to this when we start talking about Kansas City and Miami. But like there's some scenarios where seeding kind of works out in your favor. And I kind of like this matchup for Houston, right? They got the shit kicked out of them. Kurt Warner wrote a book about when he won the Super Bowl, right? It's called All Things Possible. I read that shit when I was like 13 for whatever reason. And one of the things that he said was like they got their asses beat by the Titans in the regular season. But that performance, that game, like helped them understand how to come out prepared for the Super Bowl, right? You lose to a team like that, you have game film. I'm gonna go back through our notes when we're going through the show, but I also want to see if Stingley Jr. was active for that game, because that's the health of the secondary is really important for kind of what happened in that game too.
Yeah, and that moves us on to injuries here. We're gonna go through injuries as we go through each game. Will Anderson Jr. DNP, Noah Brown DNP. He missed last week. We saw Will Anderson kind of limited. He was on the field sometimes he wasn't. Noah Brown did not suit up, and we didn't have Robert Woods last week. Do they get healthy and come back, add a little depth? I mean, besides Nico Collins, those other guys didn't really get involved as much as we thought they may have last week. Laramie Tunsil, DMP, Shaq Mason. I could just keep going down the list. There's plenty of dudes who got hurt. Let's see how they're doing. Let's see how they're doing for this one. When it comes to Cleveland Browns, obviously Amari Cooper's still kind of dealing with that heel injury, but it looks like he's going to play. I don't think there's any. I mean, I think he might be labeled as kind of a quasi questionable right now, but he doesn't have an official designation yet at this point in the week. So keep an eye on him. David Njoku, not injury related. He was resting with a knee injury. That doesn't make any sense. Who else am I missing here? Oh yeah, Kareem Hunt with a groin, DNP. Anybody else jump out to you here? Like, there's a lot of guys on this list. We're just gonna have to wait until we get later into the week here to kind of figure things out. Cedric Tillman with a concussion, also.
Yeah, I think concussions, those are probably the ones you need to be concerned about. But at this point, I think the Browns kind of thing is just they have the fucking most insane injury report in the NFL right now, and somehow they made it to the playoffs. I'm pretty sure that most anybody who's ready will play. That said, this is a great time to plug the Discord. Hop in the Discord. That's where we're going to be chopping this stuff up. We'll report inactives as soon as we get them. An hour before lock, and we'll chop it up there a little bit more to find out what kind of plays we'll adjust to.
And I almost forgot, I didn't see Eli Moore on this list. He got fucked up. I mean, with the head injury, is he out? Like, is he out for the season officially? Like, I think it seemed pretty bad. So I don't know that we'll have Eli Moore in this game either. So we're gonna have some other value to talk about here, especially if a guy like Cedric Tillman's out too. Maybe we'll have to get to some more David Bell or any of these other guys, or just straight up Njoku. All right, let's move over to Dolphins Chiefs. So Chiefs won this first matchup. You just brought it up. This is the second time these teams have played. They're not division rivals. This just happens to be a second time they played this year. The Chiefs won in Germany 21-14 earlier this year. We saw the Dolphins come out and, they played okay last week. They just got beat against the Bills. They couldn't pull it together at the end of the game there. We saw Tyreek Hill still do pretty good. He got a touchdown in that game. We talked all week about the walking boot. We saw him in a walking boot when his house was on fire. And the biggest news is all the injuries here for the Dolphins. Defensively, they're super banged up. Now, offensively, it looks like they're going to get healthier for this game. Looks like we're going to get Jalen Waddle back. Looks like Raheem Mostert. So we've got Mostert, we got Achane, you got Hill, you've got Waddle. That really makes a huge damn difference. When this team is fully healthy on offense, I think they got a chance in this one. But when it comes to defense, dude, I mean, there's a lot to talk about here. Javon Holland, DMP, Xavier Howard was out last week. He's a DMP. Jalen Ramsey was limited. Looks like they're going to get back most guys, but the Chubb went out with an ACL. Holland went out. Who's their pass rusher that popped his ACL? Jalen Phillips. So they're banged up, and Van Ginkel on the injured reserve. That's a huge deal against this defense. But look, the equalizer, is this weather. I know that typically the Dolphins playing in cold weather is probably not ideal for them, but having a banged up defense going up against Kansas City, like, what are your thoughts on the weather here? Looks like we could get in, like I said, into like possibly 1, 2, 3 degrees by the time this game kicks off with some okay wind. How do you think that affects things, and which team has the advantage? You probably think it's the Chiefs, but Miami can come out and just run the damn ball. They got two guys that are really, really into that.
Yeah, so this is an interesting game. I think the weather is going to be pretty impactful, and I think that benefits the Chiefs as long as this is a low-scoring game. The problem is right now I just don't have confidence in the Chiefs' skill players, and teams can pretty much sell out to stop Travis Kelce or just make sure that he's not beating them, and it's pretty effective because the other wide receivers just fucking can't catch. Now, Rashee Rice is starting to emerge as that guy. But again, like I think those are kind of just two scenarios you're gonna have to be prepared with. I still don't know if I have a strong take with this game either way. I think the Chiefs win because their defense has kind of been pretty consistent this year. And I'm hoping here's the other thing to consider. Zandy Reid was able to rest all of his starters. So like you could almost consider this like a bye week. Like he may have let his assistant coaches game plan for last week. You know what I mean? So like he could have been game planning for this game since or mid last week. So look, man, I think this is probably a game that leans towards the Chiefs, but the Dolphins have such an explosive offense, and I think they've been getting the shit kicked out of them. But I also don't. I think they were intentionally conservative last week or on Sunday against the Bills, right? Otherwise, they play the Bills again. Imagine trying to beat a team 3 times in the same season.
Yeah.
Like I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist here, but like if you think about that, you got to go play Kansas City. Yeah, it's a tough environment on the road. But Kansas City is not. You don't want to play them when they're in the AFC Championship game on a roll.
Yeah.
You want to play them when they still are trying to figure out their identity. When Patrick Mahomes is trying to get his wide receivers just to catch the goddamn ball.
Yeah.
So I'm ranting a little bit here, but I think this game is a little bit. It's just an interesting one. I think we got to pay real close attention to some of the coach speak and just see what kind of crazy shit's going to be planned. We're going to see some crazy plays, man. These are 2 offensive fucking gurus.
Yeah, I probably should watch this Hard Knocks in season this week as we get closer to this to kind of see if I could pick up on anything. I don't know how if they're like a full week behind or what, but that's kind of an interesting thing. Look, dude, the Chiefs to me, this is the time to attack them, man. They're not looking good. They have not looked good lately. Travis Kelce is on the slate. Like, when it comes to playoff time. Dude, Kelce to me is a guy that like a lot of people are gonna be afraid to play because he looks like dust. He does, but this is daily fantasy. 1 game in the playoffs, cold, banged up Miami defense. I don't know. I think I'm going to be getting to some Kelce just because I have to. I don't know. Thoughts on that? And you agree? Disagree?
Yeah, man. I'm gonna put Kelce ahead of Rashee Rice. Like I'm even doing playoff best ball right now, and people are loving Rashee, and I get it. But this is you want to get a rhythm quickly. Patrick Mahomes to Travis Kelce is the best rhythm in the NFL. Like the only other one that I can possibly think of is Christian McCaffrey just in the football by himself.
Dude, I think jamming in the run games for both teams in this one with this weather. I mean, can you imagine, dude, these receivers can't catch the damn ball on a 70-degree sunny day. Imagine 0 degrees with wind chills, and 10, 12, 15 mile per hour winds. Just something to point out. Injury-wise for the Chiefs, I don't really think there's anything right now to talk about. Justin Ross was a DNP. We'll have to just kind of wait and see. There's nothing that really jumps out to me besides the Dolphins injuries. Steelers, big win. Mason Rudolph, 3-game win streak off the bench, looking pretty good going into Buffalo with another weather type game. Buffalo's 9.5-point favorites at home. It's a 35.5-point total. Thoughts on this game, dude? Like, it looks like right now, like I keep talking about weather, but we've seen how much weather has impacted things last weekend in some of these games. And this one, to me, if the wind is kicking up there around, the 20 mile per hour range, I think that's worth noting, and especially if it's going to be cold as hell. We got to go Buffalo in this game, right? I mean, they've won 5 straight games, 6 out of 7. They came out, they they were, they were basically being left for dead before this win streak, and now they're the 2 seed. That's pretty damn impressive. They won the division. You got to think this is the end for Mike Tomlin, the end of the road. He had a pretty good year, but I think it's pretty much it.
We do not care.
Yeah, man. I think this is where the Steelers got eliminated. They made it this far. They had some quarterback controversy and got to this game, but I don't know that they're going to be able to overcome the Buffalo Bills. The Bills, Josh Allen had some like crazy stat, like even this on the 2 plays outside of the 2 plays that he didn't throw an interception. Like last week, he had like 8.6 EPA per play. So it was some bullshit. Like Josh Allen really is kind of like a dark horse to win the MVP. If Lamar wasn't just kind of where he's at, I do think Josh Allen would have ended up winning, kind of the way that he backdoored into the playoffs, division win, right? Like it kind of came through for his team. So I don't think that ends here. I think that ends next week. After whoever the Bills play the next week is when they lose.
Yeah, we had Fat Lenny got some playtime. Ty Johnson left that game with a concussion, so maybe we see some more of him. Maybe we see, I don't know. We'll have to see what happens with injuries here. But the Bills wise, Rasul Douglas being questionable. He left that game. It didn't look like he was in any sort of major, massive pain. He was still standing on the sidelines. But him being out is a huge deal. If he's out, I think it seems like he probably could play this game, but keep an eye on that. Dotson, questionable. Their linebacker. Dawkins, a tackle, questionable. The big news here is TJ Watt. He's going to be out, man. He was ruled out by Mike Tomlin. That's a big deal. Did you see the tweet from JJ with him in a Steelers uniform? And like, you think they'd notice? They could use him. Minka Fitzpatrick's questionable. That's a big deal. And generally speaking, wait, is that right? Yeah, that is right. Sorry, I had a brain fart there. Generally speaking, the Bills have gotten healthier, but having Rasul Douglas go out, having Ty Johnson, for the running back death go out, that kind of hurts them. Thoughts on injuries? Anything we should be keeping an eye on as this week progresses?
Nothing too crazy. Obviously, TJ Watt being out hurts the Steelers, but I'm not sure that they were going to win this game with him. He's obviously an impact on the defensive end, but I don't know that they were going to win this game. That said, Rasul Douglas, man, it's good to see him on a contending team. It sucks, man. He's just Cardinals had him on the squad. We could have used a corner for the past year and a half. And then, dude, he ended our 10-0 season. Anyways, we're getting way sidetracked.
Don't you dare!
I'm happy for the guy. I'd love to see people leave the Cardinals and go be on successful teams, man. At least they get to taste some success, right?
AJ Greengate, man, that was the downfall of the Cardinals right there. That one play. Green Bay Packers going into Dallas, 7.5 points. Dallas favorites here. This is a 50.5 point total. Dude, I don't know what to think about this game. Like, Love has been crushing. He's been really damn good at the second half of the season. We kind of left him for dead earlier on, and it all kind of turned around in that Thanksgiving game. He's come out and he's played really well. I don't remember his exact touchdown interception ratio, but it's damn good. I don't think he's thrown many picks. And dude, this team is the youngest team in the league, man. The Packers. Their young wide receivers have really stepped up. Jaden Reed has looked incredible. He won someone $1 million for the best ball week 18 or week 17. There's some injuries to talk about here. Like if Christian Watson can come back, dude, that's huge. Every time that Christian Watson has played, I feel like this team is so much better when they can use this wide receiver depth a little bit better. And they have a true number one that can go, deep and in the red zone. So thoughts on this matchup, dude? Like, we know that Dallas has a very good offense. We know that Dak is kind of in the MVP talks as well. It seems like Lamar is clearly going to win that, but Dak, I don't. Which Dak shows up? That's the hard part about this game. What can Mike McCarthy screw up in this game to lose it for him? Because if there's an opportunity out there for him to screw up some game management at the end of this game, he's gonna do it. He's gonna mess it up. But Packers, do they come out and, does their defense show up, or do they give up 40 points? I mean, Dallas Cowboys undefeated at home this year. I think they're scoring about 40 points a game at home. And the Packers, to me, like, this is just a complete wild card. Like, I would not be surprised if the Packers won this. I wouldn't be surprised if Dallas blew them out. Like, there's a lot of different situations that we got to think about here, but this is a really good one for the Sunday slate, middle of the day here. Thoughts? Where are you leaning here on this game, man?
Yeah, I'm leaning towards Dallas. Again, this is one of those kind of coincidental games where you have Mike McCarthy taking on his old team in the playoffs. That said, like, I think the Cowboys should win this unless Mike McCarthy does some bullshit that costs them in the fourth quarter. But for the most part, they probably should be leading in this game for a good duration. 7.5 points in a playoff game is a lot of points to be given. So, since we have this whole file saved, we can kind of track line movement through the week, so which might be interesting. Look again on like Thursday or Friday after we get some injury news. But
yeah,
I mean, again, 7.5 points is a lot for Vegas to give an NFL playoff game. So I would account for that a little bit more than I would for the regular season, I think. But this is one that Dallas probably wins and wins handedly.
Packers run defense, man. They've been terrible most of the year, up and down overall as a defense. It's been one of these things where they don't want to fire their coordinator in midseason, but they probably should have. Can Tony Pollard in an important playoff game step up in this one, which should be a pretty good matchup for him? Injury-wise, Stephon Gilmore, that's a big deal. If Stephon Gilmore is out, you gotta give a little bit of a boost to these Packers wide receivers. I already think that they're already pretty good play. I know we have a pretty good secondary here for Dallas, but if Gilmore's out, that's a big deal. Zach Martin questionable, the guard. AJ Dillon with a head injury. I don't know if that's a concussion or what. It typically is what it is when it says head, but questionable. That's kind of interesting. Is this another Aaron Jones nuclear type game? This is, Aaron Jones has kind of been chilling this year. He hasn't really done much. Past few games, he has stepped up, so we know he still got it. This could be a good opportunity for him in this one, and with a guy like A.J. Dillon potentially not playing, he's going to get more opportunities. Romeo Doubs, I don't know what it is with this team and chest injuries, but Doubs has a chest injury, something to keep an eye on. Christian Watson, if he comes back, I'm not seeing any news on him officially. I don't even see an injury report or a practice report from these teams yet. It could just be that we're recording this a little bit earlier. I don't know, but something to keep an eye on. Dude, the mofo has one career game against the Cowboys. He had 4 catches, 107 yards, 3 touchdowns. Not that really matters, but I just want to point out that if Christian Watson comes back, I'm going to be interested in getting to some him, especially if you got Stephon Gilmore out. All right, let's move on to this other game here. This is my favorite, like we've said earlier. Rams, Lions, 51.5 point total in Detroit, 3.5 point favorites at home, so pretty much a pick 'em for the most part. I don't know, dude. I think the Stafford can come in. I think they're playing really good. We just don't know what Detroit Lions team is going to show up. Is this going to be Goff coming out slinging the ball, looking good, looking efficient, not throwing picks, not making mistakes? And I guess the biggest question is, can this Detroit secondary, we know that they're pretty good against the run, but can they stop these teams from just unloading on them? We've seen Nick Mullins look like fucking prime Kurt Warner, minus all the interceptions, twice against these guys. Thoughts on this game, dude? There's a lot of narratives here to talk about. I just think that there's a shot that the Rams come out and win this game with Stafford.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think Sean McVay might be really underrated. I was gonna come up with something smarter to say, but I don't know how else to say it. Like, I hate him because he's the coach for our division rival, but he's one of the greatest offensive coaches that we have in the NFL right now. Somehow he keeps piecing his offense together. Like, there's no reason you should be finding Kyron Williams and Puka Nacua, right? Like, no. That's you've identified guys that fit your scheme. I know you're working with the front office, but not only that, you put him in positions to be successful. You took Matt Stafford and put him over the edge, man. Matt Stafford's one of my favorite players. Like, I remember that play when he broke his collarbone and then came back in. Yeah. Everybody remembers that play. Like, I saw that shit live. You saw that live. Like, of course we're going to be jacked for that guy. So look, man, like it's going to be a pretty emotional game. Like this is probably, yeah, I'm glad this one's in prime time. Are we doing a showdown show for this one too? Yeah, right.
Yeah, we should. We definitely
Yeah,
should. We're gonna do one.
Yeah, we should.
If you're a YouTube member, by the way, let us know which game you're interested in seeing us do for Showdown. We're gonna do the Monday Night Football game public for everybody else, but out of these other 5 games, if there's one on here, this is probably the one to do for the YouTube members. But we'll keep you guys up to date for that. And if you guys want to join, click join down below. $3.99 a month. You're gonna get a show a week specifically for you guys. As well as a private channel in the Discord that we can chat. So injury-wise, dude, Khalif Raymond's questionable. Sam Laporta, I don't know that he's playing in this one, man. Like, you know, you can question the motives of, 4% chance of, if you won this game, getting the first seed. You could question that. Was it worth it? I mean, to me, it feels like this team is built upon let's go out and kick some ass every week. Let's win. I just didn't see him, Dan Campbell trying to hold back much, but maybe there was a mistake at the end of it. When it comes to the Rams, Higbee's questionable, Reader's questionable. There's some Fuller's questionable, the safety, and then we missed Jamison Williams here. He should be good to go. So. Thoughts on injuries here, thoughts on some other notes here, and we'll move on to this last game. We got a Josh Reynolds revenge game here.
Right. No, nothing crazy here, man. Again, like I'll hold my judgment until we get some actual news about Sam Laporta. That's probably the most important piece from this game. Jamison Williams, playing. Obviously, it's just something that I'm going to lose money on more than anything. So I'd probably prefer he doesn't play.
Yeah, exactly, dude. I love Jamison Williams. I just can't help it. All right. So this last game here, Eagles getting an extra day to rest up here. We saw AJ Brown go down. Devontae Smith has been kind of hurt. He missed that game, I believe, last week. And, you had Jalen Hurts with the messed up middle finger on his throwing hand. They get an extra day here, which is nice. But, dude, to me, they've lost, 5 straight games? The Eagles, my God, man. And they're still favored in this game. I know they're talented. I know that they've had some issues lately. There's been some videos. There's been talk about what's going on. This team runs 90% shotgun, and it's just right now in the NFL, these defenses are able to figure this shit out. You got Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Their defense, we know all about Todd Bowles. We know what he's going to do. He's going to blitz the shit out of things. He's going to try to confuse opposing offenses. And dude, to me, Tampa Bay could win this game. Like this feels like Baker Mayfield could come out and sling the ball against this absolutely terrible Philly defense here. We saw the Arizona Cardinals absolutely smash against them. And all year, their secondary has been absolutely terrible. And they've got some injuries, too, on top of that. So can Godwin, Evans, can these guys come out and absolutely crush? I think they can. But I think the general consensus is Eagles are going to get potentially eliminated here. But this isn't my favorite game. So rematch. Remember that first year that Jalen Hurts got into the playoffs and they barely snuck in and they went and played Tom Brady in the wild card? We're getting 2 teams playing again here. This is the game that I just don't know what to think. Do the Eagles bounce back? They got probably going to get DeAndre Swift back as well. That's a big deal. Where are you leaning here, man? It's a 44 total, and the Eagles are still favored by 3 on the road.
I'm going to be honest. I'm leaning Philly until I hear anything else about Baker. Look, man, the dude's playing with broken ribs or bruised ribs. The dude's gotten the shit kicked out of him the past couple of weeks. We've seen his performance kind of fall off, and a lot of that has to do with him just getting the crap kicked out of him. And the Buccaneers defense has been pretty good. Now, granted, they played the Panthers on Sunday, so being good is not necessarily the greatest compliment. That's, beating a team that you should beat. Panthers never had a fourth quarter lead this quarter or this season, which is the craziest stat I've ever heard. Craziest stat. Yeah. But anyways, look, man, I think you're right on. I think this is a game that Philly needs to show up for. Obviously it's a playoff game, but they can't overlook this. Baker Mayfield and this Tampa team doesn't have anything to lose. They weren't supposed to be here with Baker. They're hosting a playoff game, like, and it should be Philly hosting a playoff game. So that stuff makes a difference. And you sent me that video, right? We were watching kind of some of the defensive schemes, and one of the things that they pointed out, and it seems so obvious, you don't necessarily think about it, when all you do is run out of RPO, right? Your quick slants aren't quick slants; they're like 7-yard posts, right? At that point, because you're already 5, 6, 7 yards back in the field, or in the behind the line of scrimmage. You're eliminating so many plays by not taking snaps under center, and of course, we all know the one play that they run under center. So, like, I just think that they're going to have to come out a little bit more aggressive than what we've seen them, and use the grown ass man that you have, AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, because running the ball is probably not going to be the smartest way to attack the Buccaneers and Todd Bowles defense.
Yeah.
So you're gonna need to use your stud receivers.
Yeah, with the thumb injury for Hurts and just already not looking very good on offense. I tend to think that, maybe there's a little bit of magic here for the Buccaneers and they could come out. But it would not surprise me if the Eagles won this game, 20-14 or something like that, and just eked it out, just because they're overall just a better team talent-wise. Reed Blankenship, questionable. Darius Slay, questionable. Juergens, their guard, is questionable. And, obviously we got A.J. Brown having some issues. Looks like we're going to get maybe Swift back. We'll see. All right, so that's all the games here. Let's just jump over to SaberSim. Now, I needed to adjust some projections. It's a little early in the week. They still, for whatever reason, they ran some sims with the backups that were playing for a lot of these teams last week. So I just had to kind of make some educated guesses on the projections. Do not look into these too deep. But let's start with quarterbacks. So Josh Allen, and like I said, if you're skipping around, I'm on the Saturday to Monday 6-game slate, but all the salaries are the same for all these slates individually. So we can kind of talk about that, like which plays are better for the main slate, which plays are better for the 2-gamer or the 3-gamer. So Josh Allen here is $8K. He's the most expensive quarterback this weekend. Jalen Hurts, $7,700. Dak, $76. Mahomes, $71. Tua, $7K. You got CJ Stroud, $6,800. There's a lot of options for this main slate here. When we get down to these 2 and 3 gamers, makes things a little bit more interesting. Who you targeting, dude? Like, it feels like to me, like for the 2-gamer, Joe Flacco at $6,100 is a really good option for that 2-gamer, simply because that second game is going to be some weather and we might have to rely on the run games a little bit. Who jumps out to you here, man?
I mean, I'm going to be honest. So for Saturday 2-gamer and the Saturday through Monday slate, like I really like Joe Flacco against that Houston defense. I still think Houston wins that game, but just from what we saw last time, it's similar to the Baker Mayfield situation, but with a real NFL quarterback, Super Bowl winning quarterback, right? He's going to go out there. He's going to throw the ball 44 times. I don't think he's thrown the ball less than 41 times since he's been on the team. So, look, man, like I don't know how you get around that. That said, like, still be mindful of the prices relative to the slate. So for the 6-gamer, it might be, it might be a little bit more broad. But for the 2-gamer, I'm going to be targeting the hell out of that Cleveland Houston game, specifically Joe Flacco. But I don't hate CJ Stroud either, man. The splits on the Browns defense versus home and away is insane.
Oh yeah,
they're right. Allowing like what 13, 14 points at home. They're allowing almost 30, 27, 28 on the road.
Yeah.
So like, I think you got to take stuff like that into account as well. So I don't want to spend too much time talking about it, but those are really the 2 that I like the most for the Saturday slate, and through the Saturday through Monday slate. I think it's going to be a little bit low owned, especially because it's the first game on the Saturday through Monday slate.
Matt Stafford for this Sunday slate, dude. 6,500 going against this Detroit defense. It just feels right. Even if there was no narrative behind this is a good spot for him. Let's just move on. We're going to kind of sprinkle through some of this. Running back wise, I'm sorting by salary here. Kyron Williams, 7,300. Rashad White, 6,900. Then you got Devon Achane, 68. Mostert should come back. He's 67. James Cook, 6.6. You got Pacheco. You got a lot of guys in this 6K range that are really nice. Singletary, Didn't have the best game, didn't have the game I thought he was going to have, but he still scored a touchdown on that one. He's 5,700. You got Jerome Ford, who's pretty cheap. And then look at this, dude. You got Najee Harris and Jalen Warren, again, right around the same price in this 5K range. Najee Harris, 2 touchdowns in that game? He's been crushing lately, man. Like, we saw Jonathan Taylor Thomas do work on this Houston defense. I think you could probably target some of these Steelers running backs again, right?
Yeah, so I should have bookmarked the thread, but what did we see? Something over the past like 4 or 5 weeks, Najee Harris has been the RB3 or something along those lines, and that's with Jalen Warren still getting some significant time and getting significant points, right?
Yeah.
So look, man, I'm just gonna keep going back to the wellness. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna have a whole bunch of them, but I do think that they're guys that are gonna just get looked over, not just because of their price and like where they're at, but because of their matchup against Buffalo, right? I think people just won't play them. But at the same time, like, we've seen that that's what's kept them competitive, is keeping the running backs in the game. That's what got Pittsburgh here to the playoffs, is that allowed George Pickens to start getting some rhythm with Mason Rudolph. Anyways, I don't want to get too caught up on that, but I really like this mid-tier price of the running backs, but just the way that the pricing's laid out, I don't even know if the studs in general are too expensive for us. So I don't know how much of them I'm going to be getting right now. That said, like, I think a guy like DeAndre Swift is a guy I'm probably not going to be getting much of on the Saturday through Monday. That Monday night game is going to be weird. So if you're playing the 6-game slate, like, I just don't know how you get to that one. I think you maybe take pieces off of it and throw it in your lineup, but it's going to be an awkward one to game stack. I think that total could probably hit the under.
Yeah, sorry, I mixed up the Steelers running backs going up against Houston, but Jerome Ford, I don't think he's going to be owned at all, pretty much, on this one with all these running back options. Maybe on the 2-gamer, but still, there's plenty of running backs we probably want to consider for the 2-gamer, especially considering that second game has a lot of good running backs and it's cold weather. Any value we're interested in here? Like, doesn't feel like it to me. Like, obviously, if the 2-gamer is probably a little different, you maybe could grab some of this value, but I think that the Najee Harris and Jalen Warren is all the value you need for running back, right?
Yeah, I probably don't need to get much lower than that. Even some of the other guys in the mid tier, just nobody's really priced all that high. So I think you can probably get to what you need to, especially if you're comfortable playing like Joe Flacco at quarterback or something, saving money there.
All right, so wide receiver, CD's the most expensive on the slate, and then you got Tyreek Hill at 8,700, AJ Brown 8,100, Amon-Ra 8. There's tons of, like, this feels like a 4 wide receiver, flex wide receiver type of day for the main slate for this 6-gamer. Tyreek's 87, dude. Like, I feel like he's going to be necessary on the 2-gamer because there's just, on a 2-gamer, if he puts up 16, 17 fantasy points, it's probably still enough, even though that might be like a bad game for him. CeeDee Lamb here, dude, going up against Green Bay. Dude, how can you not play CeeDee Lamb? Like, I don't see Dallas having a shot in this game if CeeDee Lamb has under 100 yards. I know that Brandon Cooks has been getting involved in the red zone more. We just always see that little out that they run to the back corner of the end zone on either side, and he just seems to catch those touchdowns almost every week, it feels like. But CD, to me, is the volume guy. He's probably going to get 10-plus targets, and if he doesn't, they need to fire McCarthy after this game. Like, feed CD Lamb, man. With all these studs, dude, who you really going after? And based on the slate, is there anything that jumps out to you? Maybe who's a better play than on the main slate as opposed to the 2-gamer or 3-gamer?
Yeah, so I mean, for the 2-gamer, Tyreek Hill, like you said, is probably going to be a necessary evil. There's really just not much else to pay for. And he's going to be it's 2-game slate. He's going to be one of the chalkiest players. You can fade him if you want to get different, which again is fine. We saw that he could not necessarily get there in their game Sunday. That said, on the weekend slate, I think you really just got to consider paying up for CeeDee Lamb instead of Tyreek. If you can get to both, I think that's fine. But CeeDee Lamb in this matchup against Green Bay is it's one of the higher totals on the day. Like, I just don't know how you avoid it. And then, another interesting one is again, depending on if you, this is only 6 gamer specific, but the ownership on the Eagles or studs are going to be kind of low just because of where it is on the slate. So like I think you can kind of get one-offs from that game, like I was talking about earlier. And if AJ Brown's going to be half the ownership as everybody else, like I do think that's worth considering on the 6 gamer.
Yeah, it's a good point. We got Amon-Ra St. Brown. Obviously, we can't forget about him. Cooper Kupp is more expensive than Puka. This Rams team having Cooper Kupp as basically a third option on the offense behind, Kyron and Puka feels like they're just in a good spot, man. Like having that dude as like a guy that you don't have to have go off because there's other options. Dude, Nico Collins is $7K. I mean, am I getting 80% Nico Collins for these slates? Like he feels like I know Cleveland's defense is really good, but my God, Nico Collins is a grown ass man. We've seen that. Thoughts on Nico? Probably more so a guy that you really heavily jam in on this 2-gamer simply because there's not as many options that we're loving. But Nico, man, thoughts? And let's, what about Amari Cooper here? Like Amari Cooper for the 2-game slate, you got to figure this dude's going to be like 80-90% owned because it's a rematch of when he went nuclear.
Yeah, man. And again, like these prices are all the same from slate to slate. So like, as you can imagine, you want to attack it a little bit differently. So for the 2-gamer, the Saturday 2-gamer, I think you get as much of the Houston guys as you possibly can. But for $200 more, you're going to tell me that nobody's going to be playing Puka on the full Monday through or Saturday through Monday slate. Like, I don't know, man. Like, you got to get to a shitload of him. And then Stephon Diggs at 7,400. Like, again, that's another crazy price. Like, you told me, like, I understand he's had a rough couple of weeks, but he's still one of the best wide receivers in the league. But if you told me, like, Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, Puka Nacua, Nico Collins, Mike Evans, and I'm like, goddamn, look at this list. This is the mid-tier priced options on a football slate. Like, this is a good mid-tier price, right? You could, if you wanted to be ballsy and fade Tyreek Hill and CeeDee Lamb, I'm not saying that's a great idea, but this is a very comfortable room to do it in. The Rams Detroit game is going to go off. Buffalo should kick the shit out of Pittsburgh. And Houston Cleveland, that game's going to go off. We all know who Mike Evans is, like 96 straight 1,000-yard receiving seasons. So like, yeah, man, I don't know. It's a great mid-tier.
I think for the 2-gamer, you could think about fading Amari, potentially. Like, probably I'm going to go down the route for the 2-gamer where I get Joe Flacco, Amari Cooper, run it back with Nico Collins. At minimum, maybe even more from that game. But on the 2-gamer, I feel like a lot of people are going to be building. It's wild card weekend. It's the very first set of games. You're going to probably get a little bit more casuals playing DFS. And we all remember what happened when Amari Cooper played Houston. So he's going to be super high owned, in my opinion. So you could think about maybe being under the field on him for the 2-gamer. I don't think it's super necessary doing that on the 6-gamer, but worth mentioning. What about value here? I mean, we know about Rashee Rice, and look at all these questionables. Like, there's still a lot up in the air. That's why when we're doing the show, we're not going to build. We're just kind of wrapping our heads around things because, AJ Brown could be out. Like, he could. One of these guys, I don't think Amari Cooper is going to be out, but he has a heel injury that he missed 2 weeks. And we all thought he was going to play that next week after the big game, and he didn't even come close to playing. So Jalen Waddle looks like he's going to be back. He's 6,500 going up against KC. We can't forget about these Green Bay wide receivers, dude. Jaden Reed. If Romeo Doubs is out, that opens up a lot more. You got Dontavian Wicks. You've got, where's he at? What's that dude's name? Bo Melton. You got Bo Melton at $3,300. So if Romeo Doubs is out, if Christian Watson's out again, a lot of value here when it comes to Green Bay. Anybody else jumping out to you here? I don't think Elijah Moore's playing. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, he got messed up in that game. But any low end dudes you interested in here? Like how far down can we feel comfortable going? Jameson Williams, David Bell, if Cleveland actually does have all those injuries.
Yeah, I think David Bell's interesting. I think he's fine for GPP as well. Khalil Shakur, we saw him get involved last week. I think he actually ended up winning somebody a milli. Maybe not, but I think he's a guy who can get involved. Trey Palmer, if you think Tampa is going to get going. But again, I just don't know that you necessarily need to get too far here if you want to stay kind of in that mid tier with wide receiver. If you don't necessarily have a strong take of these guys right now, I'm just not comfortable with a lot of these dudes, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think obviously they're more valid on their individual slates, whether it's the 3-gamer, the 2-gamer, or obviously the showdown slate. I think it's stud city here, and some of these better value guys, maybe from Green Bay, or just get a bunch of mid-tier guys and get your Flacco stacks or whoever, and save a little bit of money there, and then jam in 2 studs, and then get some of these mid-tier wide receivers. Tight ends. Trav, 6,100. Laporta Potty, 6K. Doesn't look like he's going to play, though, which is unfortunate. So it seems to me like the way they're going to use him, they're going to just involve another wide receiver potentially, the way they've been using Laporta. Maybe we get some more Reynolds. Maybe we get some more slot action out of some of these other guys. David Njoku, man, he's been on fire, 5,600. He looks really good. He's got to be probably one of the favorite tight ends on this slate. With Travis Kelce being 6,100, we don't know what to expect from him. He's been dog shit most of the year. He hasn't looked good on film. He just doesn't look like he's got it. And in a game where, Miami can really try to shut him down, and if they shut him down, let Rashee Rice beat you potentially. But I can't count Travis Kelce out for a playoff game. I'm going to have a little bit of him. Thoughts on some of your favorite tight ends here, dude? Njoku's up there. You got Jake Ferguson. We got, I don't think I'm going to go down to get any Freiermuth. We still got Dalton Schultz. We saw him almost have a couple of opportunities to make some big plays recently. Where are you going tight end wise? This doesn't feel like a double tight end slate unless maybe you're thinking Travis Kelce and Njoku or something. I just don't know that it's necessary. I don't know what to expect out of Kelce.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most important piece here is whether or not Laporta plays. If Laporta plays, he's probably my favorite tight end. He still had a touchdown on Sunday and like 15 fantasy points despite the injury. So hopefully he's good and he's healthy and good to go. If not, Brock Wright's going to be min priced at 2,500. So like whoever ends up getting the start there, and or James Mitchell, whatever, right? Whoever ends up getting the start there at the tight end spot. That's probably going to be my preferred value. Oh, okay. So we got James at 2,800 and then Brock Wright at 3K. Oh, that's still not. I mean, that's still not bad. I mean, I still would prefer these guys over any of the wide receivers we've seen so far. So yeah, man, that's really kind of my approach. And then just randomly, like if you're playing the Saturday through Monday slate, Todd Bowles' defenses aren't very good against tight ends.
We know that.
I think they're ranked like 28th or 29th right now against tight ends. Dallas Goedert hasn't necessarily had the greatest season, but if there's a get right spot, maybe it's here. So I don't know, but 4,800 did seem like a little bit much for him. I think you kind of just focus on Travis Kelce and Njoku, and maybe just rotate some of these other guys in. What's Dawson Knox price at?
He's low, man. He's low, 2,900.
Oh, yeah.
I'd rather play Dawson Knox. I'd rather play Dawson Knox over Wright,
Yeah.
And you can't forget about Kincaid. He's 4,600. I feel like just generally tight end, like, do you think that Travis Kelce is going to be higher owned than he deserves to be simply because his name is Travis Kelce and extra people coming into these slates casually want some more action and they're just clicking Travis Kelce's name because he's the top guy on the list, Do you think, what do you think his ownership comes in at? Because to me, if he's like 15% owned or less or something, like I don't know if that's going to happen, but if he's that low owned because people think he's just complete dust, I'm going to be super interested in getting to him. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can probably go closer to 35, 40%. It's probably more reasonable ownership, at least for, the Sunday slate. Maybe the Saturday through Monday, probably closer to 20, 25%. But look, man, he's still Travis Kelce, right? Like he's still the best tight end in the game until someone else says otherwise. Like people keep talking about how he's supposed to how he's supposed to fall off a cliff, be dust. I mean, let's be real. Their offense has sucked. When you got wide receivers that can't catch the ball, like you can bracket the one guy that can. You know what I mean? Like it's not hard defense. Like, okay, catch the ball. Until you do that, we're not going to defend you. Not to that extreme necessarily, but you can sell out to stop Travis Kelce. It's the playoffs now, right? Like if his teammates are going to show up, now's the time to do it. And Yeah, but as far as to answer your question about increased ownership, I think his ownership's been slightly affected. I got to imagine Swifties are gambling at this point and just putting his name at captain just for the hell of it. But who knows? That's anecdotal. I don't have any data to support that.
All right, so I think generally speaking, for the 6-gamer, Njoku to me feels like one of the best options. If Laporta by some miracle comes back and plays, I'll probably have a lot of him. And obviously for the 2-gamer, I'm gonna have a ton of David Njoku. All right, so let's go to defenses here. We're almost wrapping this up. Cowboys defense is the most expensive, and the cheapest is Packers defense at 2,300. Is there any defense here on the low end that you're interested in? Is there a defense that just absolutely jumps out to you as going, that's my team? Or are you going to spread yourself out a little bit here?
No, I'm just going to spread myself out. I think the Bills are probably going to be the one that makes the most sense, but it's still the playoffs. Like, I think overexposing yourself to a defense could be problematic. It's literally the one time where every single game means everything to every team. So I think you got to take it with a grain of salt. Probably don't need to be more than 25-30% of anybody.
All right, dude. Good show. What did you learn after looking through all of this stuff here? What's your favorite stack for the weekend that you're thinking? And just what's your overall thoughts on strategy here for this one? How heavy are you gonna go? Are you gonna be doing all the showdown slates as well? What are your thoughts?
I don't know if I'm gonna do all the showdown slates. I might for like Saturday and I'll probably do the Saturday showdowns, the Sunday night, and then the Monday night showdowns. I don't know if I'll do all the Sunday ones, but look, man, this is a good slate to kind of play the actual individual day main slates, right? The classic slate. Just because the pricing seems to have been done specifically for Saturday through Monday. So if all that pricing is the same on some of the other individual slates, then there's going to be some pricing inefficiencies that you're going to be able to exploit, I think. So the contest selection may not be as good, but I think it's worth checking out some of those single entries and maybe just taking stabs on teams that, I mean, like we've done a lot of showdowns on some of these teams, right? So maybe we can go back and use some of that information that we have to take more educated guesses on these smaller slates, for example.
Yeah, so we're gonna be doing. Make sure you guys are subscribed because we're gonna be doing a show on the Saturday 2-gamer. We're gonna be doing a show on the Sunday 3-gamer. We're not gonna do a show for the whole main slate. That's kind of what this was, but this is more of a laid-back first look version of that. We'll do the Monday night showdown video, and then we're gonna do one showdown video for the YouTube members. Make sure you guys, if you're YouTube members, make sure you comment down below or go in the Discord and let us know which game you want to do. To me, it probably feels like the Detroit Rams game is probably the one we'll do, but we'll wait and see. We appreciate you guys. Throw us a like on your way out. We will see you for the Saturday 2-gamer.